I want to be corrected, and I like to correct, and I think it's integral to keep people out of prison. I think it keeps people sober. It keeps them. That's the whole premise of our work, right? The Phoenix, like we have that strong community. We're stronger together, and that aspect is so on point. It's not even funny.
Yo, I'm Bryce the Third.
And I'm Liz McKean.
And you are now tuned in to the Rise, Recover, Live podcast. Here we dive into all the recovery stories from around the world.
And we talk about all pathways because there's no one right way to recover.
If you've been with us for a while, you know how powerful stories are. So get ready for your community to get just a little bigger today.
We are so glad that you're here. Let's get into the show.
What's up, Liz? How you feeling?
I'm a little disturbed.
Hey, I like to keep you on your toes.
Oh, you do keep me on my toes. Yeah, sorry. My brain just totally pictured the thing that you just described, which is going to be cut out of the actual recording that everyone's hearing. So now I got everybody else thrown off. So look at that. It is like dominoes. Aside from that, I'm good. It's honestly like it's hard to remember that I'm here to podcast because I'm here with two of my very favorite people in the whole wide world, and not just like we're just hanging out. So yay, we get to also record it.
Liz lint rolled herself and everything. It's a special occasion. It's crazy. It's crazy.
How are you doing, Bryce?
I'm good. The sun is out. It's a little warm outside, and I got some tea next to me, and we got a friend of the show and a friend of a friend and a friend in general on the show today. So I'm excited to have this conversation. Liz, who do we have here today?
We have our friends, in case that wasn't already abundantly clear. We have Nick Wells back on the show. We'll have to definitely link his previous episode because it was a fan favorite and definitely a host favorite. I think there might have been a few happy tears shed. So we're excited to have Nick back. Nick, just for those who might just be meeting him, he's the president of Redemption Road Fitness Foundation, which I know we talked about in the last episode, but we should just come back to because it's pretty incredible. And then also a volunteer manager at the Phoenix in Colorado Springs, and just an all-around cool dude. And we're so happy to see him here. How are you doing, Nick?
I'm doing great. Like I said, my name's Nick Wells. Loved the show last time. I think that a lot has transpired since my last show. I am the president of a nonprofit called Redemption Road Fitness Foundation. rf2.org is our site. We run CrossFit in prison, which is a lot of fun. But it's also life-changing, and it's rehabilitating, and it's overall just changing the culture of prison. And that's what we set out to do years and years and years ago. And it's tripled in size. And even since our last podcast, we've gained so many more affiliates, and we're about to gain 3 more, and so many more participants, so many more people getting out. And and then also I became a staff member at Phoenix. And so now I work full-time for the Phoenix. And so life is good, and became pretty good friends with you guys, even more friends.
Heck yeah.
I've known Liz, and I got to finally meet Bryce after doing the podcast, and got to do the Man to Incline with him. And yeah, so we've done a lot of fun, a lot of work together on the Adobo films.
Yeah. So last time we had you on the show, you weren't staff yet on the Phoenix. You were still doing work with us for like you said, for the videos that we record to put in on tablets that go into prisons, working really hard with Redemption Road as always. And so how long have you been out?
So I got out May 10th, 2022. So we're coming up on 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah. It seems, it's gone by quick, but it also seems like so much has transpired.
Yeah.
I've learned so much, and I've grown so much. And, with that, a lot of challenges, everything is kind of unicorns and glitter when you first get out, besides the technology piece where you're trying to figure out how to email and answer your phone and do all these things that I didn't have to do for decades. And then all of a sudden had to. And now it's like, like bills and, responsibilities and adulting and all the real life situations and jobs and budgeting. That stuff comes creeping up on you. And, but besides that, everything's great. Yeah. Last year, 2 years ago, did the podcast. I think I was living in Denver at the time, managing a CrossFit gym up there. Was really glad to be a part of the creating and filming and content for the Adobo stuff, because I mean, that's where my heart lies, is the prison
Yeah.
system and the people that are in it, and trying to make their lives easier and their transitions easier.
Yeah. It's awesome.
It
And that's
is.
still the
Yeah.
case. Like that's still your passion, like 3 years out, and that's still
Yeah, that's
where your
what I
heart
do
is.
day in, day
Mhm.
out. I think my job now here at the Phoenix, volunteer manager in the Springs, I think that Colorado Springs has, it's a unique population, right? There's a lot of military. So either you're military or like almost like you're incarcerated. So there's a bunch of different halfway houses. There's a lot of need, innovation. There's drug
Yeah.
courts. There's so much going on in this great city that um, absolutely takes my attention, and it needs it. And then obviously all of my work with Redemption Road, um, I'm constantly going inside the prisons, which I never thought was a possibility, right? Going back in, and you know, just seeing the people I was there with for years, helping them out. And then now being, the voice for them on the outside is also like their first stop when they get out. Because when I got out, I was like, man, I need somebody. And my friend Nicole Gordon was there. She was there to answer all my questions. And one of my friends had got out, weird sunlight. Anyways, oh, yeah. She was there for me when I got out, and my friend Eric had got out before me. So I would call him like at 4 a.m, asking him, like, what do I do about this? What do I do about that? And now I'm that guy. So people are calling me and asking me, what do I do? Where do I go? How do I get my driver's license? Where do I got to go to get my social security card? So it's a daily thing. It's a lot of responsibility, but I love it. We have a really good team in place now. Since my release, a lot of my friends have been released from prison, and they were
Nice.
integral parts of if not like pioneers of Redemption Road. And so to have them out, and it's cool. We're covering the whole entire state. There's people in Fort Collins, Denver. I'm down here in Colorado Springs. We have Grand Junction and Durango covered, and so yeah, basically
Awesome.
everywhere people are being released, there's one of our main coaches, and it's good. It's really good.
So awesome. It's really like being in a time capsule. I feel like obviously we're going to draw comparisons to recovery constantly everywhere, but I think about, when you get sober after a long time of being, actively using whatever drug of choice you had, and you come out and it's like, holy crap, everything's wonderful. I can handle anything, because it's not what that was, and then time goes on and suddenly it's like, holy, like life is happening, and I have to, like you said, pay bills, do taxes, all those things. And I need to turn to somebody who's been there, because I mean, last time I was actually caring about any of those things, the world was very different. And same thing, you come out of prison. I mean, 14 years in prison is like, it's a time capsule. It's like, that's a long
Yes.
time for things to have changed in the world. And yeah, it's that line for me anyways. It's like, there's always that line I'm walking between just wild gratitude for, I mean, I love my problems now, because looking back at what they were, it's so different. And then also, like, they still are stressful. There's still stuff that's stressful, and you got to navigate it. And you have taken all of that, wrapped it up in a bow, and like given it as a gift to people who are coming out and who have experienced what you have. And
Yeah, I remember, I was just doing my taxes this morning, and I remember sitting on the floor of the Champa building with you. Like, I had no idea what I was doing. I was so grateful that you were there, and I was like, why is she helping with me with my taxes? You know what I mean? Like, and it was great because I had no idea what I was doing. There was no way they were getting filed. There was no way I was going to do anything. And I had no idea what I was doing. And thank you so much for your patience. And like, since then, last year I was able to figure it out. And this year it was like a breeze now. And the whole time I was thinking, I was like, if Liz wouldn't have shown me what to do, I would not be skilled in this. I have no idea what I'm doing. So yeah, it's little things like that. So now when people are getting out, they're like, hey, how do I file my taxes? I'm like, hey, well, come over. You can sit on the gym floor and I'll figure it out,
This is where we learn taxes, in this part of the gym floor.
Like, you have to be on a rubber mat on the floor.
No other way.
So it's the only way to go. No, I just, it's, you learn and you take things from people, like, for instance, the tax you, and, I had no idea about cell phones. And I sat down, my niece, she was like, look, I know everything there is to know about an iPhone. Let me show you, you know?
Oh yeah, go to the
And
youth for that
so
for
like I
sure.
just run these things. And then now that I'm getting out and like people are getting out, like I'm sitting down there, I'm like, hey, look, you just got to do this, you got to do that. Like, here's
Yeah.
this, there's an app for this, track your mileage, you're doing this. You know what I mean? Like, if you're working,
Yeah.
you're doing, and it's like that mentoring, and that's part of a huge part of our program is that mentorship, and just being there when someone needs you and just answering the call is so important. It's just so important.
No,
Uh,
I would assume that mentorship is a big contribution to the reduction of recidivism. But
Absolutely.
how have you seen, like, are there stats that you've seen, or like in your experience, have you seen like when people don't have these resources or don't have mentorship, that they're more likely to, you know, go back or,
Yeah.
revert to old habits?
So look, we have one of my really good friends. He's a Phoenix volunteer. He's one of our core members in our program, and he was in the halfway house here in Colorado Springs, and he was doing great, excelling in all aspects of his life. And then when he was released from there, he had to go back to Pueblo, Colorado, which we didn't really have. Like, there was no one down there with him,
Mm.
and he started to struggle. You know, he started to struggle, had some relationship issues, and started struggling with drugs a little bit, which led to like getting in trouble with his parole officer. And then he ended up getting caught with some like a pill. I can't remember exactly what it was, but in his car. And so they took him back
Mm.
to jail. He was risking about going back to prison. And talking to him on the phone, and that was the one thing he said. He's like, "Man, I just didn't have you guys around. I didn't know what to do."
Huh.
And we went down. We talked to the district attorney. Went down to a court date, and he ended up getting a treatment program, which he's excelling at now. He's right across the street from the Champa facility up in Denver, and he's hosting Phoenix classes every day up there. And just I was talking to him on the first at a fundraising event, and he's back to the same guy. You know, he has a circle of people around him that he's built up.
Mm,
But yeah, you see it. You see like that community and that mentorship, and the accountability of your peers is so crucial, because I'm a firm believer that we all want to be held accountable for our actions, right? We want somebody to tell us, hey, no, that's not appropriate. And I know I do. Like, and I'm doing something, and my friend's like, hey, man, you really were talking to that person wrong, or your actions weren't right. I feed off of it. I learn from those mistakes. And I like to give it out too. Like, I like to tell people, like, hey, man, like, you know, I want to be corrected, and I like to correct. And I think it's integral to
uh,
keep people out of prison. I think it keeps people sober. It keeps them,
yeah,
that's the whole premise of our work, right? The Phoenix, like, we have that strong community. We're stronger together. And that aspect is so on point. It's not even fun.
yeah. And you think about the way. I mean, I got my own viewpoints on the carceral system. We won't get super deep into that, but uh, the, what I've seen is when people are let out, it's kind of like, huh, here you go, here goes your freedom. There you go. And it's
Yeah.
like, wait a minute. I've been doing things a certain type of way for 20 something years, and maybe there's like government funded programs and stuff like that. But I think that's the importance of, nonprofits like the one you lead, where people who have had this experience know the experiences that people are going to have when they're about to
Mhm.
have the experience. And so you create the resources that are in alignment with that experience to be able to support them, because without you, it's really like a one track way back to the old habits.
Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
absolutely. What we do is we tell everybody. I mean, every single person that comes to our program, and you get to know them very well. The coaches get to know them, whether it's male, female, at whatever facility they're at. They're told, like, hey, you know, get involved, get involved right away, and the Phoenix is going to be your best bet, right? The bet, download the app, go find that community, because, like I said in my last podcast, like, that was literally my first step. I was on a meeting this morning with Nicole Gordon. She was an L4 seminar staff who did my L2, came into the prison, did my L2, and we became really good friends. She became a crucial part of our program, but she was also a Phoenix volunteer. And so the night I got out, she was hosting the class at the Phoenix. And I went down there and saw her and Dan. And that became, like, my community now. Like, those are the people I surrounded myself with. But all too often, a lot of people are are forced to parole homeless. They're forced to go back to the same communities that they left. And sometimes that length is so long that it's brand new to them. Like I was gone for 14 years to Colorado Springs, even though it was brand new. Like I remember getting out and after dinner, I was right downtown. And so I drove down the alley that I had the little standoff where I was arrested. And it was like surreal, like my whole life ended that day. Like, but for the good, that part of me ended. And I kind of sat there in that alley, just kind of staring at that house. And I was like, man, like, what a world, like how am I standing right back here in a different aspect? But a lot of people that could trigger some real negative emotions or, like the city, like coming back to the city where you committed all your crimes or you did all your drugs at it. It'd be really hard without the right community. So the city itself is just going to be Colorado Springs is always going to be Colorado. And it's going to be how you make it. And it's the people you surround yourself with. And we have a huge community of Phoenix members here and all sorts of organizations. There's another guy here doing great things with boxing and training kids and troubled youth. And his name's Adam Vigil. He's a Phoenix volunteer too. And they're all just really good people and they're doing great things in different realms. And I think it's crucial. I think it's crucial. The people you surround yourself immediately is how you're going to, they always say, like, I don't know. My mom used to always tell me, like, you're going to be just like the people you surround yourself with. When you surround yourself by people that are like-minded, you're going to do what they're doing. And so hopefully that is like a positive community.
And I know, like, so because the first time you was on the podcast, you were pretty fresh, back into the world or whatever. And
yeah, a few months.
Sheesh. So now that you've had some time, and I know you mentioned that there's been some challenges, and I always like to ask people that build the resources, because you're one of the ones where it's like, okay, the resource needs to exist, so let me create the resource. But how have you shown up to support your own challenges, and what have those challenges looked like since you've been home?
Yeah, so I think the last time you guys asked me about my self-care, and I was like, hey, helping others and coaching them and seeing them succeed is part of my self-care. And I still hold true to that. But, since then, like I have to take some time for myself. I love hiking. I love it. I absolutely love being out in nature. Went up yesterday and saw this troll someone built way up in the mountains. It's super. Like if you
troll?
Google, yeah. Her name is Rita, and it's up in Victor, Colorado, and it's
you can build trolls. Wait a minute, hold on. Wait.
Yeah, we went up there yesterday, and it was great. I got to see that, and even though it's winter and it was muddy and slushy, it was great to do. So hiking, self-care, fitness is
Wait a minute, Nick, because you're not explaining how somebody can build a troll.
Is it carved out of wood?
Yeah, it's carved out of wood.
Okay, so it's like a gigantic troll statue.
Yeah, if you haven't been to it, you have the opportunity. Google Victor, Colorado, Rita the troll.
I thought you was up there having full-blown conversations with Rita that somebody built.
I was trying to get her to talk. But look, I started doing therapy. I think things got to me to a point where I needed to like talk to somebody and unbiased person that didn't know me or doesn't know like my background or doesn't know what it is exactly that's going on in my life. And I always thought like I'm here helping others, but at the end of the day, I needed help too. So I started seeing a therapist. Really love that. Trying to figure out like just venting and just doing the stuff. Picked up the guitar again, started playing the guitar a lot more.
Nice.
I miss reading. I used to read books every single day. And I was just talking about this yesterday that, man, I used to read everything I could get my hands on. And so now life has been so busy that like reading has taken a back burner. But I got to bring that to the foreground and just to let it know, like, serving the community is great. And it's a way I like to give back, but there's always a need for myself. And I love that with hiking and reading and just sometimes it's just putting my AirPods in and tuning out the world and listening to a podcast or book on audio or anything. Just
and that in itself is an act of service because like, you can't show up. You are a guy that shows up like more than anybody I've ever known in my entire life. Like Nick Wells shows up like quite physically, like if you need Nick Wells, he is there. And it's incredible. And I think it means a lot to you. It's like part of I don't want to tell you who you are, but like from what I've witnessed, it seems that's part of your identity. You're like a person who shows up that people can depend on. And I know for me too, like in recovery, that was a big deal when suddenly I was like, oh, people can depend on me again. I can depend on me again. But I think that's almost like the missing piece that sometimes can happen where people depend on you. And that is just like the thing that you are. And that it does feed into, like it is part of your self-care. And I mean, it's so healing when you're coming from a place where that absolutely was not who you were, but then that can be the missing piece of like, I need to show up for me too.
Yeah, that's
Because
it.
otherwise I can't
That's
do
something
the
I've
other
learned.
one really well. So
And that's something I've been learning, trying to learn,
yeah.
show up for myself.
Yeah.
And then also the word no. Sometimes I have to say no. And even though it kills me because I want to show up, I want to be there for everybody, but sometimes I have to say, hey, look, it's not going to be the best thing for me at this moment,
And that is showing up though. That is showing up. I think like to say no, because it's in me, for my mind, that like lives in the same realm of you correcting someone if they're doing something that's out of line. Like that is an act of love to be like, I'm not going to do something outside of my bandwidth, my boundaries, I can't, if I say yes to this, it means no to this other thing that's important to me. And I'm going to say yes to this other thing that is important to me. And you're going to see me do that. And like that in itself is helpful for people because you are a model of so many things for folks. So I think it's amazing. It's like once we start to do those things that are for us that we thought were, I don't know, selfish or not helping others, it's like, oh shit, this is part of it actually. This is like a really important part of it because you want to model that. And yeah, I think that's the thing that for a lot of people, so many people that we bring on this podcast who have stepped into like leadership or, a helping role, it's like, no, when you say no, and when you say like, no, because I need to do this for myself, like that is another way that you are showing up for people because then they know that's okay to do for
Absolutely. I
themselves.
think it really came to light. I think we were talking about it in our last film session when you guys were here.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start saying no. I'm going to start choosing myself once in a while. And it feels good. Sometimes I still, I'm always like, yeah, I'll do it no matter what. But it is good to know that it's in my back pocket. Yeah. An interesting thing happened too. Like I think about sobriety and I think about the journey that I've been on. And on the 13th of January, it's not a random day. It's not a year, but I had set a reminder on my phone for some reason that I was 6,000 days sober. And so I had a reminder that morning. And I was like, man, 6,000 days. Like, this is a random thing to put in my phone. It's a random reminder to get. But, it really made me proud. It made me think about all the time that I spent working on myself during that last 6,000 days and what my life has become and what my life was like before, And so then I could find like solitude and like that. I look back and I'm like, man, where I was, 6,002 days ago, you know what I mean? Was so different than where I am today. And I owe it to people that would listen, people that would show up for me and myself, And so, it's just really cool. It's a really unique thing. I'm going to throw another random reminder, maybe at 8,000 or something.
Do it. That's cool.
And just to get that notification, it was like my own self telling myself you're doing good, and it was cool. It was a cool thing to do. Like, what prompted me to put that in my phone, but I'm glad I did. And it was a little boost of like, oh man, I'm on the right road. Even though when things get rough, like you just feel like, nope, this is all for something. And that was.
So when you were talking about kind of that pink cloud or the unicorns and rainbows of the initial, hey man, I'm living on borrowed time. I'm here, baby. Like it's all great. And now that you've had 6,000 days, and what has it been like to show up without that extra oomph sometimes of the pink cloud? What does that look like for you? And like what tools do you use to be able to show up when things are hard now that some of that may have died down a bit?
When you have to walk instead of ride a unicorn.
So the unicorn drove off and I was like, hey, where are you going? Come back. I need a shot of glitter. So I think the end of this last year, like maybe September, October, November, like I was really kind of just in a funk, struggling. I was like, man, what is this all for? the unicorn glitters have wore off of like my release. Things are just weighing on me. Like, I was like, man, what do I got to do? And so, I really like came to a point where I was like, okay, well, one, you can't be in a funk, right? You got to get out of this. So we got to do. That's when I started doing some therapy and stuff. Um, but I find it like I have been through this, and I have been through tougher times, and whatever you're facing in life, no matter if it's something major or maybe it's just the redundancy of the day, if it's the same old thing, or if it's like, oh man, I did all this just to pay all this, and because that weighs on you. You're like, man,
Yeah.
I just did so much work, and like you don't see the benefits, or you don't see
Mm.
the instant rewards, or like it's not like, oh man, it's new. Like I'm paying my car off. You're like, I'm so sick of paying this car off. And but I just look back. I just got to dig back into like the stuff that I have overcome
Mm-hmm.
and who I am, and use those as tools, and then find new tools. New things to look forward to, new things to do. Hell, like I went and bought rollerblades on Saturday, and I haven't rollerbladed since the '80s, and it's fun. We went and found a park and did some rollerblading, and just finding new things to do and new things to look forward to, and things that you can set
So,
your mind.
and what's the process of that new finding? Like, are you just like randomly Googling, like, or is there? 'Cause like you said, I ain't did this since the '80s. So is there like a bit of digging into self to figure out, like, hey man, like I used to do this, or I used to play the guitar, or I used to, like, what? Is there an intentional process, or is that just kind of
Yeah, no,
organically
I was
unfolding?
invited to Skate City, and I was like, man, I haven't roller bladed in a long time, and I just put them on, and I was like, oh man, I love this. But then I was getting these blisters on my ankles, and I
Oof.
was like, I wonder who else got these blisters. Then it got grossed me out, and I was like, there's no way I'm ever gonna put on a rental pair of skates again in my life. So I need to go get my own skates,
Mm.
And so yeah, and then it's so much fun. Like I was just getting the hang of it and just feeling it. And I think it's just like, I don't know, try new things. Yeah. Sometimes I guess
Yeah,
there's an aspect of, I used to love it. I used
yeah,
to
I
ride
think.
around my mom's work. She'd be at work and I would just be there raising hell. I remember like there's a
Raising
custodian
hell
job.
in the '80s.
Oh man. She worked at a church in LA, and it was huge. And then these big concrete hills. And man, I would steal the golf carts, and I would drive them around, and I would just ride my rollerblades or drag my brother around behind with a
Oh
rope,
my
and
Mm.
gosh.
we would do all these things. And yeah, it's just fun.
You
Just
are
good.
living on borrowed time. Holy smokes, you're more
Yeah,
than
all
one.
time. Yeah,
Yeah,
no. And so just finding that, like finding that solitude, finding the things I used to do. I used to love. Every year since I've been out, I'm like, man, I used to love snowboarding. I haven't made it back up,
mm,
and I
Mm.
want to go. I want to just rent some stuff, go back up there and see if it's the same as I remembered it. Like I used to
uh,
love it so much, and um, I would like literally work like all day. I would skip school. Literally, senior year of high school, I would skip school on Friday, go work day labor, and get a check enough to go get a
Go
ski
snowboard,
pass. Yeah, there
you
was a
gotta
place
call
called
Travis, our friend who has the media company that we do the filming
yeah
for
Travis Hunt
Adobo.
Plays.
Every other day all winter I'm looking at his Instagram stories and he's in these like beautiful places. So hit him up. You
Yeah,
should
see,
go
that's
with him.
exactly it. So just I want to do that.
Yeah, it'd be
Just dig
fun.
into some old fun habits.
what it sounds
Just like
like too is 'cause I really at one point in my life used to disregard the importance of time. I think that now in hindsight, I think that might have been like youth working on me. Like time sucks, like why would I respect somebody who's been alive longer than me? Like you're out here doing the same stuff that I'm doing. Like I'm about to. Yeah, I think there's a bit of like personal trauma there too, where it was like I used to be told to respect my elders, but they would literally be on the corner with me. But the longer that I've been alive and the longer that I've been alive in recovery, the more time there is for me to like ask questions and experiment. And in that experimentation, like kind of like my daughter, I got this thing like for those not watching on YouTube, you're not gonna be able to see it, but like I got this a while back. It's the machine. When I first started making music, I started making beats first before I started writing like lyrics. More recently, I've been into live performances and lyrics and writing, but I haven't made a beat in a minute. And I was down here. I don't know. I was going through something, and I plugged this thing in. I uploaded the firmware to make sure that it was back up and running. And I'm sitting here just kind of tinkering with stuff. I've been practicing the piano too, and been doing that for
Nice.
about like 3-4 months. So I'm starting to get to where like it feels like I'm in tune a little bit. And I'm freestyling a little bit. My daughter came down and asked me what I'm doing, and I'm like, I don't know. you know, and I think especially within the type of work that we do, or even those of us that have that new life where it's like, oh, like there's so much to do because of the time that was wasted, or, you know, now that there's new life, I need to earn my new life. But those moments of no objective, let me just go get some rollerblades, let me just turn my beat machine on, let me just pull this guitar out to see if I can strum it a little bit. Like I think, you know, you think about life and like one day it's gonna be over with, not to get like crazy morbid, but like where am I in a rush to go? You know, how can I enjoy and get to know myself and discover myself in the midst of the experience, as well as like continue to create impact and be there for other people who've had the experience that I've had. But I think that's kind of what I'm trying to, I don't know if I'm trying to dig it out of you or if I'm trying to like build community, because I'm in the midst of like, I don't know what I'm doing, you know, but there's a lot of like auxiliary, I'm just doing it just to see how it feels, things that are going on in my life that I hear kind of reflected in your experience as well.
Yeah, no, I'm doing the same thing. I went and bought a whole bunch of art supplies. I used to paint and draw like almost every day in prison. I mean, I love painting, and it's been a passion of mine. Art has been a passion of mine since as long as I could like knew what a pencil was. I was drawing with, you know, and so then, you know, 3 years has gone by and I haven't done an art piece. And I started.
Not even a stick figure? Not even a stick figure? Nothing?
I mean, I doodle on stuff. Like when I'm like on a meeting, I'm like sitting there drawing. But no, nothing of substance. I've done a couple of different things, but nothing like I wanted to. So I went and bought these big canvases, and my niece just had a baby. My niece, yeah, she had a little baby girl, and so she wanted some stuff. I had painted her nursery walls when I was before she was born, and she asked me if I would do it for her daughter, and I was like, yeah. So she lives in an apartment, so we're not gonna paint the walls. We're just gonna paint some canvases and put it up there.
Amazing.
And yeah, I saw some techniques on this Instagram page I followed that was really, really cool. So I'm trying it out. I've never tried it before, so I started it, and so yeah. I mean, that's another thing, man. I know that every time I do paint, I feel so good about like my life. And like, I feel like it just sends me into this zone. There's nothing else in the world except for me and that canvas. And doesn't mean I'm great, but I love, you know what I mean? It's not like I'm pumping out masterpieces, but I like it, and it brings me comfort and brings me like, you know, peace. And so, yeah, I think that digging back into things that you enjoy, you picking up that beat machine.
Yeah.
I've always been intrigued by that. I've always wanted to learn how to DJ. I hear stuff, and I love music. You know, I live vicariously through music. I mean, it's all about the lyrics to me, and then also the guitars and stuff.
DJ,
I've always wanted
DJ Willie Wells in the future. I see
yeah,
it.
for sure. Look,
I
hear songs, and I'm like, these two, someone needs to mix these two. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand why no one's ever mixed these. And I'm like, well, why don't you do it? You know what I mean? Like, why don't you invest in some, you know, turntables and learn how to mix it? Like, you know what I mean? Because I can hear it, and I'm like, oh man, this beat goes with this beat, and this would be the best mix on the planet. And I just never, I guess I haven't just followed through with that dream, and I need to. I think that's my next, is finish some art projects and get me some little cheap turntables.
There you go. Grab Serato and go crazy.
Yeah, go for it. And next thing you know, might be an Instagram star or something. I don't know.
Hey.
Yeah, no, I just, you know, I really just want to get back into that. And then it's been so cold here. It's been so cold, and so I've been bummed out. Like, I feel like I haven't seen the sun in months. And
that's out of the ordinary for Colorado. My gosh.
I mean, the sun's been out, but it's been like 8 degrees.
Oh, so you're not going out, yeah.
The sun's literally got a dot on your face right now, too. Like, the sun has a vendetta against you. If you're watching on YouTube, Nick has been fighting the shit out of this square.
A little square of sunshine.
Yeah. Yeah, but today's 62 degrees out. So, you know,
All right,
Yeah.
well, we ain't gonna hold you no longer. Go outside.
Enjoy that
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
sunshine.
I'm gonna go enjoy it. I might bust out the rollerblades and go roller skate.
Yeah. You
Yeah, but I think
should.
just to kind of like put a bookend to the conversation. I think from everything that you've shared, especially in comparison to the last episode that we had you on, it's just I think this is a beautiful example of embracing life and
Mhm.
and all of the things that there are to discover within it, and doing so in a very human way. Like I don't feel like there was like a super central conversation piece in this episode beyond like you and how you've learned to navigate life in the 2 years and some change since we last talked to you. And it's a wonderful thing to see, and it's a beautiful thing to like hold space for. And I want to drop some bars real quick, because you said it's not a masterpiece, but if it brings you peace, then for you to masterpiece
There we go.
is for you to paint. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but
So
no,
yeah, I'm putting out masterpieces here,
there,
Bryce.
there you
Yes.
go. But no, it's just it's such an intricate, beautiful, and the thing about at least I can speak for myself, and I know I've talked to other people in recovery, where like how you said, like I don't know, maybe I'll do it and I'll be an Instagram star, or it's not a masterpiece yet, or it's not I'm not Tony Hawk yet, but it's like I have to continue to remind myself that it's not about like that. I don't know if like it's a specific thing that is inherent within people who may have used things outside of themselves to quell and solve the emotions that we dealt with. Because for me, I've always looked for the button that can come and get me to this state immediately, versus like having to do the work to get to the state. But even in both of those statements, like it's still a state that I'm trying to get to, where like the things that we talked about today, like it hasn't necessarily been to achieve any state, but just to like pause beforehand, but like to play with ourselves and like really like really get the energy of like self-discovery in our process. And there's no objective there except for like enjoy life.
Yeah. Well, to have fun. To have fun. Like it's okay to have fun, just to have fun. I mean, that's a really bright colored thread in the tapestry that we are weaving of this life. Yes, taxes have to be there. Yes, there's the crap that came before the good stuff, and then the good stuff got a little less shiny, and like all the life things happen. And also there's rollerblades and music and Taking Back Sunday and representing on the t-shirt today.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
And fun conversations like this. Like literally even this conversation was just I think this is a product of us just being like, how can we really have fun on this podcast? And we were like, who did we have so much fun talking to? And we're like, Nick. Let's ask Nick if he wants to come back. And of course, Nick being Nick is just like, cool, I scheduled it for like a week from today. I was like, this is so great.
Yeah, absolutely.
And here we are.
I was like, oh yeah, we're doing this again. I can't wait to see my friends. And just let people know, hey, life is great, and it's not always unicorns and glitter, but that unicorn comes running around a lot. So just jump on its back.
That's right. The unicorn.
Thank you for coming to the show again, Nick.
Yeah, thank you for
sharing your process with us, and thank you all for tuning in for another episode of the Rise, Recover, Live podcast. And we will catch you next time. Until then, go have some fun. Go do nothing for no reason, and figure it out, and play around, and paint, and do the guitar, and play the piano, and dance, and DJ, and all that good stuff, because the world needs more of that. We'll catch you next time.